Hey everyone, and welcome to America's Mom. We have such a great show put together for you guys today. More from the Colorado State Assembly. You will not believe what happened here. And of course, our great guest, Clerk Tina Peters from Mesa County, Colorado, running for Secretary of State in a hot and entangled affair. And then finally, we're going to have a bad bill segment. We'll have our special friend, Dr. Barke from America's Frontline Doctors, talking COVID. And where is Fauci?
I don't gotta wait no more. Chasing after things that they just can't tell you. Tell me I don't wait no more. Seen it all change and I know that's for you. Tell me not to wait too long. I don't gotta wait when I make this for you. Tell them not to wait too long. You don't gotta wait when you let fate guide you. Wake up.
Do you feel it? America is under siege. What does it feel like to live in a state that's occupied, looking over your shoulder constantly, worrying that everything you do might get you a ticket or at least a warning and certainly a stern look, realizing that every step you take is being ordered by your government, rising food prices that restrict your choices, gas prices so high it restricts your ability to travel, and of course, quite frankly, far more month than money because of rising inflation. It is a feeling of fear and of despair. In Colorado, where I live, we have the highest anxiety and depression rates throughout our youth as well as adults. Pharmaceuticals are not only offered, but pushed on our children like candy. So for those kids who are struggling, not only do they not receive the care that they absolutely should be having, but parents are not even notified in ages 12 and up in our state any longer if they're having mental health issues. No, the government is now in charge. Living under siege feels like hopelessness. It feels like there's nothing you can do to change the situation that you're living in. I encourage you, as you watch these next few moments from Colorado, one of the most progressive leftist states in the union, not the people, just the selected representation. I encourage you to be encouraged because this state is taking back their power. In 2017, a very passionate businesswoman decided she was going to run for clerk and recorder just to reduce wait times from 3.5 hours to a more normal, maybe 15, 20 minutes, if even that. Actually, I believe Grand Junction's wait times now have been reduced to 3.5 minutes. This same woman also became a Gold Star mother that year as she ran for clerk and recorder. She has impacted so many by her strength, her tenacity, her grit, and her commitment to do what is right, no matter what the cost is. Clerk Tina Peters from Mesa County, who is now running for Secretary of State to take the battle directly to Jenna Griswold, joins us. All right, well, we are here with America's favorite clerk and recorder from Mesa County, Colorado, also running for Secretary of State, and effectively sent a message to the establishment Republicans of Colorado who definitely had to grab some duct tape and wrap it around a couple times as she took 61% of the vote from the state assembly this past weekend. Clerk Tina Peters is with us. How are you, Clerk Peters?
I'm great. It's a great day for Colorado.
It definitely was. So the assembly was incredible. I just want to say chants of Tina Peters, Clerk Peters, all throughout that entire world arena was incredible. Was this your first assembly you'd been to?
I was actually a voting member, a bonus member in the state assembly before, but this was the first time I was a candidate, actually.
That's incredible. So what was your takeaway? I mean, did you feel welcome that day? Did you feel like the people were with you, were on the same team, were on the same page? What did you think?
I felt like there was a lot of grassroots. There were people that had never been a delegate before that had stepped up. I just really feel like people are ready for a change in a good way.
In a very good way. So there's going to be some people watching right now who are not familiar yet with Clerk Peters and what is happening in Colorado. So give us just the quick, the short story of what has happened that has put you on the map and has everybody wondering and watching this incredible race in Colorado.
Well, I was a business owner for 32 years, and I decided to serve my community and decided to cut down wait times in Mesa County. The wait times at the motor vehicle department were 3.5 hours. And I said, as a business owner, I can fix that. And never expecting what was going to happen after that. In in 2020, everyone knows across the country, there were questions about the validity of the election. But after 2021, when we did our municipal election, it was just, I looked at the results and I went, no way. And people kept bringing me information. I kept defending the gold standard of Colorado as being flawless, and it just, the evidence that there was something wrong just kept piling up. To preserve a program, a computer program, I did a backup of the Mesa County server, a forensic image is what it's called, to preserve a program in case we ever needed to do an audit. I was told by a Dominion employee that was coming in that this software was going to be deleted. And I reasoned that, my job is to maintain election records for 25 months in the state of Colorado and 22 months federally. So it was my duty and my obligation to do that.
And so you made these images, and the Secretary of State of Colorado finds out that these images exist, showing a before they did this trusted build image of the system and an after. And we can all guess what happened next. Those images were compared, and there were some very dubious things that happened during that so-called trusted build. Is that correct?
That's correct. And when she found out that we were finding out her misdeeds, she immediately raided my office. They papered up the windows. They took my chief deputy, who is the clerk, when I'm not there at the office, and escorted her out on bogus charges, a felony burglary charge, after she had come back to work after they had taken her out on a bogus unprofessional conduct charge. And they wanted to take over the office. They were being found out.
It sounds like a guilty conscience to me. You know how little kids rush in to fix the scene of the crime when they've taken cookies and they're trying to wipe up the crumbs real fast? It
Right.
totally reminds me of the Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, and what she's done. But it's been, you've handled it with tremendous grace, but there has been a lot of devastating action that the Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, has taken, along with the District Attorney, Dan Rubenstein, and really Merrick Garland, the, head of the FBI in America. From the top down, they are coming after you, a woman who has never even had a parking ticket. And yet here we are. So it's been incredible to watch the people rally around you, because we all know, we understand what's going on. We see through this. The criminal activity was on the part of the Secretary of State, and she has deflected on you over and over and over. I think it's important just to point out, when the indictment came down, there was nothing in the indictment about the supposed misdeeds that led to the Secretary of State raiding your office, raiding your home, and multiple other people's homes, including my own. None of that was in this indictment. So I thought it was illegal to make a forensic image. I thought it was illegal, or that she said that you had stolen election equipment, and essentially that you had done something to, rig an election somehow, is what she portrayed to the public. Is any of that anywhere in the indictment?
No. They've been fishing for anything. They've thrown me in jail. I slept on a 1-inch plastic mattress with no sheet, no pillow, freezing, with 5 other women and a toilet. Filthy place. My chief deputy was put into to jail the same day. We were in there for 30 hours, and then we were released on they were trying to get a $500,000, a $500,000 bond, personal bond. So everything they can. They've handcuffed me. They have put me in. It's just incredible what they've done to try to get me to shut up, back down.
That's exactly so. Like any other person who is innocent and mad as heck, you've done something pretty phenomenal and extraordinary. Instead of shrinking back in a corner and just taking what the Secretary of State wants to dish out and the Attorney General wants to dish out, you decided that you were going to run for Secretary of State and take the fight directly to Jena Griswold, the Secretary of State of Colorado, who happens to oversee the Democrat Association of Secretaries of State for the nation. So this isn't just a Colorado story. This is a national story because of the position that Jena Griswold has in the nation. So you decided to take the fight directly to her, and you are running for Secretary of State. And this past weekend, you had your state assembly. It was incredible. Incredible how the people are standing with you, supporting you, taking this battle on with you, because we all know, we all woke up on November 4th and said, what happened?
What happened?
We all know.
Yes. That's
and
correct.
there's been so many victories under your leadership. You know, you've been doing the job of the Secretary of State since that city council election where you began to investigate what didn't seem right. You have actually shined a light on the importance of examining and watching these elections. And I wanted to ask you about that. What do you see the impact that you're having in Colorado so far?
Well, it has been amazing because we are looking at well, let me just back up. The reason I ran for Secretary of State was because I looked at the two people that were your choices. One's a Democrat we've seen what kind of lawlessness she has created, passing laws that did not go through the legislature during the supposed COVID crisis. In order to relax restrictions that would protect people's vote. The other one, and now she's working really hard to get Senate Bill 22-153 passed that will make it illegal to do what I did legally. So they really don't have anything on me. They're trying to use lawfare. They're, going after anything they can. So here you have on this one side, my opponent, Jena Griswold, is using illegal methods to try to shed bad light on me when she's really the felon. And then on the other hand, you have Pam Anderson, who is running as, get this, a Republican, who is a director and the secretary of the Center for Tech and Civic Life. And you can look for yourself at techandciviclife.org. She is the one that Mark Zuckerberg funneled $400 million through this organization. And there's 75 subpoenas out. They're now being accused and charged with election bribery. So this is why I ran for Secretary of State. You have, on one hand, a Soros-funded operative, and on the other side, you have a Republican, so to speak, that is running with Zuckerberg and Rockefeller Brothers and Google rock the vote money. So
incredible. And right now, isn't there 26 states in the union that are passing legislation right now to keep Zuckerberg dollars from the CTCL that Pam Anderson is the director and secretary of, to keep that out of their states? 26 states are seeking to pass legislation to keep that out. And yet here we are. She's running for Secretary of State, Pam Anderson, in Colorado to continue Zuckerberg's work here.
That's right. That's right. And so you're going to hear, your listeners will hear all kinds of misinformation and disinformation. I'm going to use their words to say that I've committed crimes that I haven't committed. They have gone after my family. The night I was in jail, my father died, and the Michael Struy, the DA, one of the DA investigators actually went and harassed my family in Chicago, Virginia, North Carolina, called them, harassed them, told one that if the other sister didn't call him back, he was going to hold her in contempt. And this is why, while a family is deeply grieving the loss of my father and grandfather. Yeah. You have been thrown
kicked around, attempted anyway, and you're still standing, you're still smiling, the people are with you, and you are going to fight an incredible battle. This is going to be one for the whole nation to watch. You know, normally they're watching the U.S. Senate races, but I think that this time we're going to be watching this Secretary of State race play out in Colorado. Clerk Peters, where can people find you and donate to your campaign?
Thank you so much. You can go on TinaPetersforColorado.com. That's Tina Peters, my name, FOR, Colorado.com. And, I appreciate all the prayers. I appreciate all the donations and the offers to help. We are up against big money candidates. So they have a lot of money to run smear ads and things like that to make me look like a criminal, when in real fact, they are the criminals. They are the ones that are stealing your vote and bringing this country down. And we can't let that happen.
We won't, and we'll be praying for your tremendous success. It was just so refreshing to see how excited people are to have a fighter in you, and that's what you are. You are a Gold Star mother. You've run into this battle, and we're so grateful you did. Clerk Peters, thank you for being with us today.
Appreciate it. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Today's bad bill is HB 22-1279, and in an unprecedented move here in Colorado, we have shifted from just offering abortion to fully embracing infanticide here in Colorado. This bill has been explained as one that seeks to provide equity in reproductive rights, specifically targeting minority and low-income communities. In fact, this bill has no definitive language whatsoever as to what defines an appropriate abortion, at what state or age of the baby, of the fetus, you can protect the life. If a baby is born alive, can we save the life? Nothing is definitive in this bill whatsoever. It simply allows for the unfettered access of murdering children, period. There's no deadline, there's no boundaries, there's nothing that lets us know at this point you cannot do this. Anything and everything is up for grabs. So let me read this to you. Concerning the codification of a person's fundamental right to make reproductive health care decisions free from government interference. It's really worth noting on this bill also that they actually have the audacity to tell you that you also don't have to have reproductive care if you don't want to. Yeah, thank you. We don't need the government telling us any of these things, whether we have to take something or not take something, but that's another point. The bill declares that every individual has a fundamental right to use or refuse contraception. Every pregnant individual has a fundamental right to continue the pregnancy and give birth or to have an abortion. And a fertilized egg, embryo, or fetus does not have independent or derivative rights under the laws of the state. This bill prohibits the state and local public entities from denying, restricting, interfering with, or discriminating against an individual's fundamental right to use or refuse contraception. Let's just get real. This is all about what they're saying is now a right to abort and kill your child without any deadlines, without any boundaries, without any compassion for if the child should be born alive. The new Colorado is embracing extreme and radical abortion laws like we have never seen. Make sure you look up HB 22-1279, called the Reproductive Health Equity Act. All right, joining us today has been one of my favorite people as he has been delivering hope throughout the country and actually made his debut as an American frontline doctor in Washington, D.C. during this so-called pandemic. With 25 years in the medical field and a patriot to the core, Dr. Jeffrey Barkey is joining us today. Thank you so much for being with us. I tell you what, it's been a minute since our tour of Colorado, the revival that we had here that has continued to grow and blossom. And now here we are living free once again in Colorado. I can't thank you enough for all the incredible effort that you did, not only in California where you've been such an influence there, but all over the country as America's frontline doctor. You have helped so many people to have hope, to live free, and also find a way through the actual issues with COVID. So I just thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Well, you're too kind, Sherronna. Listen, you have been an inspiration to me. When I first started speaking out publicly, I found you somewhere, I don't know, social media, Facebook Live or something. And I started following America's Mom, and you were an inspiration that what I was doing was right, it was resonating with people, and that I should continue to speak out.
It absolutely has, and we're supposedly at the tail end of this COVID thing, and I really wanted to get a truthful, honest update on what's happening with COVID, what has happened since the rollout of the vaccinations, and what you're seeing as a frontline doctor. People all over this country reach out to you, and so I really want to hear what's actually happening now.
Well, listen, I've learned a lot over the last couple of years about COVID-19 and the tyranny that we've experienced. And Dr. Fauci popped up again a couple of days ago talking to us about being prepared for the next wave of some variant. And he's up to his tricks again in trying to scare people into compliance. And that's really what's happened, is the common sense narrative about early treatment, about the lack of efficacy of masks, about the dangers of the vaccines have been shut down, and the public has been played into this idea that there's something out there that they need to fear, to the extent that they have to follow these government edicts and these mandates that I think are unconstitutional. So a few things that I've learned over the last couple of years, maybe most importantly, is that COVID-19 is an easy illness to treat. It's not difficult. And when we can treat early in the stages of the symptoms, we're really good at it. And I'll tell you, even if you put to the side some of the controversial medicines, they shouldn't be controversial. I'm talking, of course, about ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, that I and many of us believe the science is clear that when they're used appropriately and used early, they're very effective. But even if you put those aside and simply look at some of the tools that we have to treat early, like vitamin D. If we did nothing but educate the population about the importance of vitamin D, we would save lives. If we did nothing but educate about the importance of using a nose, throat rinse protocol early in the stages, like with dilute hydrogen peroxide or providone iodine, we would save lives. We have wonderful sequential multi-drug treatment protocols that are out there, but too many doctors don't know about it or are afraid to use it. We've also learned that there really isn't asymptomatic spread. So somebody that does not have symptoms of this disease doesn't spread it. And as a result, there's no reason for us to be testing people that have no symptoms. The analogy I use would be, somebody comes into my office and they feel really good, and I tell them we need to swab their throat for strep throat. They would look at you like you're crazy. They'd say, I don't have a sore throat. I'm not ill. I don't need to be tested.
That is a great analogy.
I don't need to be tested against a disease that I'm not at risk. Yet here we are. I went to a hockey game here in Orange County the other day, and I'm not going to do that again for a long time. And they required us to present either our COVID-19 vaccine passport. Of course, I'm not vaccinated. I've had COVID. I have natural immunity, or a negative test. And it's ridiculous. I'm not sick. We don't test people that aren't ill, yet this is what's going on.
Well, I was wondering how the People's Republic of California was doing, and if they were still in full crisis mode, or they were actually starting to listen to the experts. So that's unbelievable. We had a trip.
Things are loosening up a bit, but there's still a lot of tyranny going on. And the other thing that I've learned, and as it relates to the vaccine, is this vaccine is not safe enough and not effective enough to be mandating it for anybody. But we are. And under no circumstances should we be vaccinating any child. Why would we vaccinate a child against a disease that they're not at risk using an experimental product that has no long-term safety studies? It makes no sense. But here in California, the legislatures, as we speak, are working on a law to mandate that all children to attend in-person schooling have to be vaccinated against COVID-19. And it's criminal. We should not be doing this. We've caused more harm than good as it relates to many of the orders and many of the mandates that we've been subjected to throughout this whole COVID-19 pandemic.
I read your book, COVID-19. I've actually read it 3 times now. And probably because you read this portion in person also, it still really resonates with me when I'm reading through the book. And that was the fallout to our elderly, the isolation, the ongoing distancing, and separating them from loved ones, from children, from their families. What has been the result of that? I haven't seen the final numbers of the nursing home deaths and just people dying alone. I did hear a story in my own backyard of a veteran who has not seen someone in a year. He had not seen a person in a year. He was put in isolation because he would not take the vaccine. And that is a veteran who is someone who served our country, who's been so massively disrespected and cast aside. But I was curious to hear more about those numbers now that we're a little bit farther out from the beginning of this unbelievable.
It's really been devastating, and it hasn't been necessary. The isolation that we've created that wasn't necessary to do. I mean, even loved ones in the hospital. I had a patient just last week that was in the hospital and for a gastrointestinal bleeding. And his wife took him to the hospital, rode in the ambulance with him, spent most of the night there with him, went home to get a change of clothes and to get some food. And when she came back to the hospital, they wouldn't let her in because she's not vaccinated. Like, are you kidding me? You just spent 3/4 of the night with him, and now they won't let you back in unless you're vaccinated or you can show a negative COVID test. Of course, it's, she's been up all night and it's early in the morning. Where's she going to get a negative COVID test? And of course, she has no symptoms.
Doesn't that just seem cruel?
It's
Doesn't
cruel.
that just seem cruel?
It is absolutely cruel. It's not based on any science. It's based on, I don't know what it's based on. It's based on people following orders from unelected healthcare bureaucrats, and it makes no sense. And this is happening all over the country. Even people that are supposed to have routine studies, like a patient I sent to a gastroenterologist just for a routine screening colonoscopy. She's, I don't know, close to 60 and she needs a colonoscopy. She calls to make an appointment. The first thing she's asked is, are you vaccinated? And she says, what difference does that make? Well, we're not taking care of patients unless they're vaccinated. It's like, oh God, here we go again. So now what I have to do, and I have a list of doctors, I have to find non-woke doctors that understand the science, that aren't putting up with this BS. There's this division going on between the woke and the unwoke or something, and I'm finding now a handful of doctors that believe what I believe, that will see patients that don't have mandates. There's an obstetrician gynecologist that I refer to that's a patriot. She doesn't require her pregnant patients to be vaccinated. Can you imagine? That's what they're doing at all the hospitals now. You've got to be vaccinated in order to deliver your baby at a particular hospital. Makes no sense. There's no science. There's no testing. We're following Dr. Fauci and his foolishness, and people are being harmed as a result.
Well, it's unfortunate that those doctors you're referring to didn't know that Biden declared victory over COVID. It's hard to believe that this is still happening 2 years later. And so these are current events that you're talking about. People not being able to get surgeries and scans, do the normal everyday things that they were doing 2 years ago. They're still not able to do that now without a vaccine. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. So tell me, you're so connected to the legal side of things as well, and I know you're paying attention to class action lawsuits that are coming up. Do you see any movement in the medical world of people pushing back legally and actually having some victory on those who were fired in the health industry because they would not take an experimental use medication?
Yeah, we're seeing individual cases and we're making some progress. I think ultimately there will be a case that will get up to the United States Supreme Court. It couldn't happen soon enough. They need to rule in on liberty. As Bobby Kennedy Jr. says, we need to love liberty more than we fear a virus. And we have given up our liberty. We've given up our constitutional rights over the fear of this virus that we ought not fear. What we should be doing is standing on the rooftops, talking about the importance of early treatment, talking about the Great Barrington Declaration's perspective of focus protection, meaning there's a 1,000-fold difference in the risk of this virus for folks that are older and with significant underlying conditions versus young people. There's a 1,000-point difference, yet we treat everybody the same. We treat kids as if they're at high risk as older folks. I heard Jen Psaki, the president's press secretary, just the other day when asked about that. I think it was when President Biden tested positive for COVID, and it was asked, is President Biden, how old is he? He's almost 80 or something. I can't
120,
remember.
something like that.
Is he at greater risk than a 20-year-old was the question. And Jen Psaki, bumbled the answer and said, well, no, everybody's at risk. And there's really not a difference. She's lying. It's not true. Young people simply are not at risk of this illness.
Well, Dr. Barke, you are a truth teller. You're one of my favorite patriots in America, and I can't think of a better way to kick off America's Mom than having you join our very first show. So thank you so much for everything you've done, and I look forward to bringing you back on very soon.
Sherronna, it's been an honor. Thank you so much for having me, and Godspeed to your new program.
Thank you. As a parent of 4 children, when I saw the education system taking my children down the wrong path, I decided to step in, to intervene on behalf of my children. I didn't ask for permission. I didn't ask for a seat at the table. I simply decided as an American, and especially as a parent to these children God had given to me, that I needed to act. I encourage you today, stop simply allowing people to tell you how it's supposed to be. Stop letting people tell you what the answers are. You have everything that you need within you to figure it out, to do the research, educate yourself, and make sure that you feel confident in the decisions that you are making for you and your family moving forward. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we're building a new table. It's one of America First patriots who love this country, who honor God and believe in the traditional family and the incredible production that comes with the traditional family unit. I believe in you. I know that you have the answers within you, and you can figure out your own life far better than the government could any day. Remember, everyone, all that's necessary for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys back here on Friday. We'll have a special guest with us. Until then, see you soon.
'Cause I don't gotta wait no more, chasing after things that they just can't tell you.